I grew up in a house that always felt a little too quiet. Not the peaceful kind of quiet, the kind where every small noise stands out just a little too much, like the house is listening along with you. It was just me and my mom for most of my life. My dad left when I was young and we never really talked about him. My mom worked long hours, so I got used to being alone pretty early on. I didn't mind it at first. I had my routines, homework, TV, video games, dinner by myself. But there were always little things I couldn't explain. At night, I'd sometimes hear footsteps in the hallway outside my room. Not loud, not aggressive, just slow, careful steps, like someone trying not to wake me up. Whenever I worked up the courage to open my door, there would be nothing there. My mom always brushed it off. Old house noises, she'd say. Pipes, wood settling, the usual explanations. And for a long time, I believed her. Until I didn't. When I turned 19, my mom got remarried and moved into her husband's place across town. She didn't want to sell the house right away, so she let me stay there alone, said it would help me learn independence. I thought it was great. A whole house to myself. No rules, no one telling me what to do. At first, it was exactly what I imagined. Friends overlaid, music too loud, ordering food at midnight. It felt like freedom. But after a few weeks, that quiet came back. Stronger than before. The first thing I noticed was the basement door. It led down to an unfinished space. Concrete floor, low ceiling, old shelves, a washer and dryer in the corner. I never liked it much as a kid, but I didn't think about it much either. Now, living alone, I started noticing it more. Sometimes I'd go to bed and be sure I closed the basement door. Then I'd wake up the next morning and it would be slightly open. Not wide open, just enough to notice. At first, I told myself I must have forgotten. Maybe I didn't shut it all the way. Maybe it didn't latch properly. So one night, I made a point to check. I closed it firmly, pressed until I heard the latch click. Even gave it a little tug to make sure it wouldn't open on its own. The next morning, it was open again. Just a crack. That was the first time I felt something shift. I started closing it every night after that. Sometimes I'd even push a chair up against it, just to be sure. It didn't matter. Every morning, it was open again. I stopped going down there completely. Then came the sounds. It started with small things, a faint thud from below, a soft scraping noise like something being dragged across concrete. Always at night, always when the house was completely still. The first time it happened, I muted the TV and just sat there listening. It stopped. Like whatever made the noise knew I was paying attention. That became the pattern. Noise. Silence. Then nothing. For a while, I convinced myself it had to be something normal. Maybe a raccoon got in somehow, maybe pipes or the heater or something shifting. But deep down, it didn't feel like that. It felt intentional. One night, I had my friend Tyler over. We were in the living room playing video games when we both heard it. A loud thump from the basement. Not subtle. Not explainable. Tyler paused the game and looked at me. What was that? I shrugged, trying to act casual, but my chest already felt tight. Probably nothing, I said. Then it happened again. Another thump. Slower this time. Tyler stood up. Dude, that's not nothing. I didn't want to go down there, but I also didn't want to look scared, so I grabbed a flashlight and walked over to the basement door. It was already slightly open. I hadn't noticed it before. I slowly pushed it open the rest of the way and flicked on the light switch at the top of the stairs. The light came on, but it barely reached the bottom. The stairs creaked as I took a step down. Tyler stayed at the top. See anything? He asked. No, I said. I went down a few more steps, enough to see the floor.
Nothing looked out of place. No movement, no animals, no sign of anything at all. We checked the whole basement after that, every corner, behind the washer, under the stairs. Nothing. Tyler laughed it off afterward, but I could tell even he was a little uneasy. After he left, I made sure the basement door was closed tight. That night, I barely slept. Around 3 a.m., I woke up to a sound. Not a thump this time. A voice. Faint, muffled, like it was coming from far away. I couldn't make out what it was saying at first. I just lay there, completely still, trying to listen. Then I heard it again. Clear this time. It said my name. I sat up immediately. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. I told myself it had to be my imagination, a dream leading into reality, something like that. But then it came again. My name. From downstairs. I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight, slowly stepping out of my room. The house was dark and silent. Except for that voice. It didn't sound aggressive. It sounded familiar. That was the worst part. It sounded like someone I knew. I walked to the top of the stairs, each step feeling heavier than the last. The basement door was open. Wider than I'd ever seen it. The light down there was off. I didn't remember turning it off. I stood there, staring into the darkness. "Hello," I called out. The voice answered. But this time it wasn't just my name. It said, "Come down." I froze. Every instinct in my body told me not to move. I slowly backed away, shut the door, and locked it. Then I pushed the couch against it. I stayed awake until morning, sitting on the floor with my back against the door. Nothing else happened that night. The next day I called my mom. I didn't tell her everything, just asked if anything had ever happened in the house, anything weird. There was a long pause. Then she said, "Why are you asking that?" That was all I needed to hear. I pressed her, and eventually she admitted something. Years before I was born, the previous owner had died in that house. In the basement. She didn't know the details, just that it was sudden and not exactly peaceful. She said she never told me because she didn't want to scare me. That didn't help. That night I decided I wasn't staying there. I packed a bag and planned to leave before it got dark. But as I was grabbing my things, I heard something behind me. A soft knock. 3 taps. From the basement door. I turned slowly. The couch was still pushed against it. The door was still shut. Another 3 taps. Then silence. I didn't wait for anything else. I left the house, got in my car, and didn't look back. I stayed with a friend for a few days, then went back with him to grab the rest of my stuff. The house felt different in the daytime. Smaller. Less threatening. But as we were leaving, my friend stopped near the basement door. "Did you hear that?" he asked. I didn't want to, but I did. A faint voice. From behind the door. It wasn't calling my name this time. It was calling his. We both stood there, frozen. Then it said, "Don't go." That was the last time I'd ever stepped foot in that house. My mom sold it a few months later. I never told her the full story. And I never will. Because whatever was down there, it wasn't just trying to get my attention. It was trying to keep me.